All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, as you can see on the screen here, guys, we got a little bit of green jewelry Bonney action. Okay, green is actually probably my least played color in the entire game. It's my least favorite for whatever reason. I don't have anything against the color. I think it's still very solid, especially this leader. But it's just not really my play style. So, you know, it is what it is. But, guys, I am the kind of person that still likes to play every different kind of leader in the game, every different kind of deck, every different kind of type, and just, you know, I try to make sure I'm very well versed all around with all the different cards in the game. So, guys, let's do this. Let's get straight into it. We do have quite a bit to talk about today. We got, first we're going to head over to the lab. We have a game of green-purple Doffy versus black-yellow Luffy. Okay, that should be a lot of fun. Then we're going to head over to the topic of the day. We have to discuss catching us up with the East. That should be a hot topic. Then we have 3 games we have to go over on the sim. We got 3 games to go over of Jewelry Bonney, me playing this leader here. And then last but not least, we'll check out the deck list, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts on it and all that good stuff. We'll wrap it up in that way. So very standard, you know, very straightforward video for us today. I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description. I'll have all relevant deck lists and links down in the comment section below. Okay, guys, all that good stuff. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to put them down in the comment section. Now, let's do this. Let's get into these games, guys. First things first, we do have a game over on the VV Lab. If you're a new player, what is the VV Lab? Well, basically, it is a at the very beginning of each one of my videos, I try to include this segment where it kind of acts as like a miniature coaching session for players, where it's like random players, you know, let me say it like this. It's a community-submitted video. Like a random listener will record one of their games and have me review it in a video. You know, they want to see what I think about it, and it's just a nice, easy, free miniature coaching session, right? And if you're interested in me reviewing one of your games, because it works, like I said, it's like a coaching session where we kind of critique the plays a little bit, constructive criticism, never anything like to tear anyone down. Just very, it's meant to be very helpful and to help people like see other potential plays. So if you're interested in me reviewing one of your games, it is extremely easy to, you know, to set up. It's like a 3-step process. First, you have to record your game. Then you have to upload it to YouTube, and then hop over to the VV Theory Discord. The link should be in the channel description. Hop over to the VV Theory Discord, and once you're in there, I have a channel called Review My Game. You post the link in there. I give you a thumbs up emoji as soon as I see it, and you get thrown in line, and when it's your turn, you're up. Okay, very easy to set up. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this game, guys. We have a game of green-purple Doffy versus black-yellow Luffy. Okay, volume is off. Speed is on 2x. And, okay, it looks like they left me a little message over here. I almost forgot to say this. Someone left a message. You guys can't see it where my head is, but it says volume off, speed 2x. Love you, Vivi, from Slovakia. Hey, love you too. Appreciate the kind words. And, okay, they said, and by the way, guys, wherever people are listening to me all over the world, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. But it says 2x speed. Let's see if it's like, so this would make it 4x speed. Let me see something. Okay, that's super fast. Okay, we're not going to do 4x speed. Let me go down to normal speed for me. Okay, that's awesome. And then imagine if you were watching on 2x speed. It's like, what, 6x or 8x speed at that point? That'd be crazy. I think it'd be like 8x speed. Okay, now, back to, so let's get back to this. Here we go. So, green-purple Doffy versus black-yellow Luffy. And it looks like the black-yellow Luffy player has chosen to go second. They won the dice roll, and they chose to go second. They're going to start off with a Flampe. We started off with a Baby 5. Very nice. And they got a Garp. That was a... Okay, pause. We're doing a top 5 search right now with Baby 5. Might be grabbing Off-White, but all of those options are good for what we can grab. We can't grab Hody Jones. We can't grab Punk Gibson, but Diamante, or Diamante, however you say it, Doflamingo, and Off-White, those are all 3, like, incredible decisions. Now, real quick, Black-Yellow Luffy just got a lightning-fast start. They did a top 5 search. They grabbed a Sabo with the Garp, and they did a Flampe to draw a card from the top of their life and from the top of their deck. Really, really good start for the Black-Yellow Luffy. So let's see what they decide to grab with a Baby 5. Okay, the Diamante, I really like that card. If you can get that card up early, it's really strong. Nice. Tapping down the Flampe with the Sugar and then smashing into it. Now, the Sugar is a card. It has an on-play where if your leader's Doflamingo, actually, the on-play might not matter, but it has a once per turn that can rest something, but the on-play effect will rest down a 4 or less, and then the on your opponent's turn effect can rest down any type of character after they play a character. Okay, so let's see what happens here. They did a search, and they got a Portgoss D Ace. They're going to smash into our Baby 5. Sure, we'll let them take that. They swing it for 5. Okay, we did kind of greedily take that. I think we could have given them a 2K counter there and it wouldn't have really hurt that bad. But at the same time, I don't think it was the end of the world either taking that hit. But just remember, guys, in certain matchups, it's good to counter out early because, like, against Black Yellow Luffy, they're going to swing 7s, 9s, and 11s from here on out pretty much, right? Or at least 6s, I guess, maybe. But, you know, all their attacks become massive as the game goes on. So that's something to really look out for. So swinging 5 into 2, they should let this go. I don't know why they'd leave this on the board. Yep, they let it go. That'd just be a waste of cards. Playing out the Diamante seems good. Yeah, like if they swing for 5s and 6s, I think we should counter out of those because that's perfect 1-card answers. Nice. So here's a 6K attack. We'll 2K counter out of that and we'll get out of it. But once the game gets late, they start doing a lot. Okay, so real quick, they play out the 5-cost Sabo that pops a character by trashing the top card of your life. It KOs a 5 or less. But we are able to rest it down with the sugar. Now let's see what happens for this turn. Okay, are we about to load up? Okay, loading up for 5. We're going to swing 10 into the Sabo. I like that a lot because we don't really have another play. Okay, now hang on a second. So playing out the sugar. For those who are not aware, this effect will not double up. So I don't know about playing out the sugar there. It wasn't necessarily a play mistake because now there are 2 sugars. So if they get rid of one, there will be another one ready for next turn. It's not the worst play in the world, but just to make sure there's no confusion for the newer players, sugars on a, let me see if he mouses over the sugar. Let me see if he does that. Oh, no, nice, perfect. He did. So check out this effect. So the on play effect is at the bottom. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. That's easy. But the opponent's turn, once per turn, this, hear me out, guys. When your opponent plays a character card, if your leader is of the Don Quixote Pirates, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, then rest this card. Because of the way this is worded and the way it has been ruled, this card will rest no matter what. So even if you choose not to rest something, it will rest. It will rest. And that's just the way the card is meant. That's just the way the card was designed. I wish it did have more agency where you could choose when and where to rest it, but that's the way that this card was made, just so everybody's aware. So let's see, as soon as they play a character, both of these sugars should rest. Okay, y'all help me out in the comment section below if I'm off on that. Okay, so let's see what happens here. They do a top 5 search with Three Brothers Bond. They get a ST13 Sabo, so that should be the little Sabo, I think. They play out Garp. They get a OP07 Luffy. I believe that's the Rocket Boots Luffy. And let's see what happens here. Now, notice that both of our sugars had to rest. Let me go back real quick. Hang on, guys. So they play out the Garp. So they get to do a top 5 search first. Then our on opponent's turn, once per turn effect goes off, and both of our sugars are down for the count. Right, they're rested. We did rest the Garp, but that's not really the greatest thing in the world, right? They play out the Luffy. They pop it. They're going to swing for 6. I would swing 6 into the into the sugar, because that card's just a nuisance. They do swing 6 at life, and we use a 2K counter, so very nice. We got our full value from those 2 2K counters. I was scared we might not, so that's good. Nice. Playing out the 7-cost kid, and we're going to buff our leader. We have 8 Dawn, so we'll have 10 Dawn next turn. They play out the Flampe. They draw their top life card and a card from the top of their deck. They play out the Hiyori. They're going to set the top card of their life now. And this guy is off to the races, guys. Black Yellow Luffy is off to the race. Oh wow, they're playing the 5-cost 7K Rush Ace. I still think that card is really good, but some people don't use that card anymore. So they're going to attack in for 7, and we got a trigger, but it's Punk Gibson. Punk Gibson's trigger can rest any character in the game, but it can't rest leaders. Okay, and then the effect itself, so there it was. Nice, perfect. So pause, counter your leader up to one of your characters, gains plus 4,000 power during this battle, then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less for the actual counter, and then the trigger can rest up to one of your opponent's characters no matter what their cost is. Okay, excuse me, let's see what happens here. So they're still at a 9,000 power leader. All right, now they're going to go up to 11,000. Yep, so they added 2 cards to their life with the leader effect. They're going to play out this Sabo from their life with the 2-cost guy. They're at 9,000. They're going to swing for, okay, they're going to swing for what? 4 plus 3. Okay, yep. So they swing in for 12K there. We're going to take that one. We're not getting around that. We have a birdcage, and we have yeah, I agree with playing out the 10-cost Doflamingo here. Very nice. And now, okay, pause. I would have actually swung 5 into the Flampe, because one thing that players can do, guys, hear me out. I don't know who all knows this or not, but one thing that players will do with Black Yellow Luffy is if you fill out your board, well, now you can start pushing your 5-cost characters into the trash. For any of the new players out there, you can only have 5 characters on the board at a time. You can have your leader and then 5 characters, and you can also have a stage. but you can't have more than 5 leaders. However, if you have 5 characters, or excuse me, you can't have more than 5 characters. Did I say 5 leaders? Yeah, you can't have more than 5 characters, okay? Once you have 5 characters, if you want to play another character from your hand, you have to get rid of one of those characters, and that character goes to the trash. Okay, so that is very, very relevant to know against Black Yellow Luffy, because they will use certain things to their advantage in that way. So watch, let's see what happens here. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but that is an option that they have. And we could have just swung 5 into the Flampe, and then they wouldn't have the ability to do that unless they played out multiple characters this turn. Nice. So they play out the 2-cost Luffy. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that card. Hang on 1 second. So they play out the 2-cost Luffy. We rest the Sabo with our Sugar. Excellent. Then they play out the 5-cost Luffy from their life. They're going to pop our Sugar now and draw a card with the effect because they have 2 or less life. And let's see what happens here. They still have 8 Dawn left. Okay, attached 2 Dawn. Now they have 6 Dawn left to work with. Let's see what they do. Their entire board's tapped out. So this is looking very good for next turn for us with our Birdcage. This is looking really, really good. Okay. They're going to play out the Ace. Okay, now that's exactly what I was talking about. They played out the Ace, and then it played out the Kuzan to draw a card and replace the Ace on the field. Now, let's see what they do. But now they can trash a card from their hand and play that Ace from the trash into their life and play it out with the 2-cost Ace. Let's see if they do that. That's probably what they were going for, right? Okay, they play out the Luffy and the Ace. Very nice. Yeah, that's something. That's why, remember, guys, now they technically still could have done it if we had removed the Flampe, because they played out like 3 characters this turn, but they would have had a better chance of messing it up if we had taken out the Flampe. Oh, beautiful. So we actually get to totally, absolutely punish them right there. That was awesome. So that Punk Gibson might be something that can win us the game here. That might have won us the game. I don't know. But watch this, guys. He swung for 7. And remember, he had to play out the Kuzan so he could cheat this Ace back into play. Well, we fully counter out of the 7K attack with a plus 4K, a 2-cost 4K. And then we tap down his 4-cost or lower character, the Kuzan. And now we have a Birdcage follow-up. Okay, and we have Queen. So this is actually the perfect turn, or 10 Dawn turn. Okay, so we play out the Birdcage. Now nothing will untap on the next turn. Okay, looks like, oh, there's Macvice. Let me see, I've been wanting to read this card. Okay, so Macvice is a 4-cost 5K with a 1K counter. On play, he's Don Quixote Pirates, of course. On play, if your leader is the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or lower characters. Then, at the end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards is active. That part doesn't really matter, the setup to one of your Dawn cards is active. At least not in this situation. But the thing is, it does rest down to 5 or less. But all their characters are rested, so I don't think we're going to be playing this card. That would really surprise me if they play out the Hiyori. Or played out to tap the Hiyori, I guess. Like, so then they have no attacks next turn except their leader. Not really sure. Okay, so we attach a Dawn to the Eustace Kid. And we're swinging for 9 into 9. But we didn't use the Eustace Kid's effect. So hang on. So now we have no way to keep the Birdcage alive. Maybe that was the intent. I'm not sure. Let me see. 9 into 9. Okay, so we're getting cards out of hand. That's for sure. Or the card out of life. They give us a 2K. Swing for 9 into 10. That's another 2K. They're down to 3 cards. Okay, so that might have seemed right there, but I don't know if it was. Hear me out. I don't know if that was the right play or not. Because ultimately, I would rather keep the Birdcage on the field. I would rather keep that thing on the field. And if we hadn't done it in that way, like, okay, we got to go back and talk about this, guys. I'm not saying it was a play mistake, but I think it was a slight inaccuracy. Like, we had a better play lined up, I feel like. So for 10 Dawn, let's go back to the beginning of this turn real quick, guys. This is a very, very important, very relevant turn. Okay, so we're going to untap for the turn. Now watch this. This is how I would have handled this turn. With 5 Dawn, I would play out the Birdcage. So now their entire board's not going to unrest, right? And then I would just play out the Queen here. And with the Queen, draw 2, trash 1, see what you get, return a Dawn. Now they can't unrest their characters, and we're not going to go up to 10 Dawn, so the Birdcage doesn't pop, right? So let me see if we can pause it right on, nice, perfect, right on Birdcage. So look at this, guys. If your leader is Don Quixote do Flamingo, which of course it is, all characters with a cost of 5 or less will not become active during both players' refresh phases. So that means your characters and theirs, but we don't have any 5-cost characters to worry about, but their entire board is 5 cost or lower. End of your turn, though, if you have 10 Dawn cards on your field, KO all rested characters with a cost of 5 or less, then trash this stage. So hear me out. If we had played this out for 5, those characters aren't standing up. Even if it doesn't pop, those characters are not standing up. So with that in mind, we could then play out the queen and do a draw 2 trash 1 while establishing a blocker, and they're not standing up still, okay? And we keep that card on, we keep the stage active. So anything they play out is going to be at jeopardy of getting hit with a Hody Jones or a Mac Vice or whatever. Then every single turn after that, we're going to be able to swing with our Eustace Kid and return 1 Dawn. They're never getting a 5-cost character for the rest of the game. They'll never get to swing with their 5-cost characters for the rest of the game. The only swing that they will have is their leader. So, excuse me. And now it doesn't really affect not Hody. It doesn't really affect Gecko Moria, but that's not what we're really worried about in this situation. At least not yet. We'll see how the rest of the game goes, right? But then after playing out the stage and playing out the queen to draw 2 trash 1, then you could swing for 8 into the, I would still swing into the Kuzan and the Flampe to do what I was saying. So that way we make sure the board has less characters on it so they can't push as many cards to the trash as easily. But that's okay. Let's see what happens. I do want to see what happens, but the way that I would have dealt with this turn is I would have played out the Birdcage, played out the Queen, draw 2 trash 1, swing 8 into Kuzan, and then swing 10 at face. So we're still getting cards off the board and cards out of their hand, and then we're actually still establishing a board, and we have a looming threat at all times with the Birdcage. And if they try something fancy, we're always going to have that Hody Jones follow-up to just rest down and go for lethal if we need to. Okay, but let's see what happens here. So we chose not to do that. We play out the, we swung for 9, swung for 9, swung for 10, okay? And now we're caught back to where we were. We pop everything on the board with the Birdcage, which again, it's not that that's like a bad play, but I think there was a slightly more optimal play. Let me say it like that. Okay, they're kind of looking through the trash right now to see what they can find. So Gecko pulls out a 2-cost Luffy and probably going to be a 2-cost Sabo. Yeah, that's usually the play here, so they can have a blocker to hide behind. And they're going to trash the ace. They have another ace in the trash now, so they trash the ace from hand. They're going to pull out the Sabo. They push an ace to their life. They're at 9,000 power. They have a blocker, and let's see where they swing. 11 into 8. Oh, man, we're 2K off from protecting this, and that is brutal. That's another reason why having the blocker would have been absolutely massive this turn, because with the blocker, we could have blocked that, of course, and then we would have had a 8K, 10K, 5K base attack coming in. So just doing the simple math on that, 8K plus 10 is 18, 18 plus 5 is 23, plus 10 is 33. We could have swung 11 3 times. Could he have gotten out of it? Maybe, but at what cost? He would have lost the Sabo, he'd have lost the card in life, and then he might have had just enough to get out of it in his hand. Okay. Going to rest down the Sabo here. Interesting. Okay, so we're going for lethal. So we're going for lethal here. I would have probably sat back on a queen and a sugar here, guys, to be completely honest. Just sat back on queen and sugar, trashing one of the Hody Jones and gone about things that way. But okay, well, now we're in deep trouble. So they were able to survive that. What was that, like a 2K? I was just yapping. Hang on, guys. So we swung for 10. So play out the Mac Vice, swing for 10. Yeah, because we can only swing for 10 and 11 now, right? Yeah, 5. Swing for 10, and then 1 will swing for 11. Swinging in for that, they don't counter out. They let that go to the bottom. Then they swing in for, or then they counter out for 11K and, or excuse me, 2K, 1K to get out of that. All right, that's probably going to be game if I had to guess, but who knows? Maybe they make a mistake here. Not okay. Yeah, we only have, we can only get to 9K now. We can only get to 2, 4, 6. We can only get to 11, so we can only get out of a 10K attack. Okay, let's see what happens here. Just waiting for the Black Yellow Luffy player to realize he has lethal. I'm not really sure, because he still has 2 swings left. So right here, I guess he could just... Okay, he's going to play it the safest way possible, I guess, just in case something happens here. But I couldn't imagine him not just swinging for everything on his leader right here. Swing for, like, 2... He has 2 Dawn attached, so swing for 9. I'd attach 2 more, swing for 11, and then I'd swing for 10 if it looks like I can take lethal after that. Excuse me. Okay, going to swing for 11, and that's all we could get out of it. We had 2, 4, plus 2, 6, so we can only get to 11, GG. So I think everything kind of did shift after this one turn right here. I think this was the turn where we had to really, like, really dial in, really lock in, and see could we have had a more optimal play here. And because I don't think it's worth quite going for lethal in this situation anyway, because I think that's what we did. We tried to go 9, 9, 11 here, right? And I don't think we could have, if anything... So hear me out. If anything, if we were going to go for lethal, I think what we should have done was go... So we swung for 9 with the Eustace Kid, right? Well, I would say maybe swing for... 9, 10, 11. Well, hang on a second. Could we have actually just tried to go for lethal, don't even play out the stage? So, okay, if we're going to go for lethal, there's another option as well. So we have 10 Dawn, right? And we have a 8K and a 10K on the board. So 18 plus 10 is 28. We could have just swung for 13, 15. Swing 13, swing 15, or just 14, 14 because they're not going to draw the card. That would have been another option if we're trying to go for lethal, which I don't think we should have. I think we should have just bird caged. I thought that was perfect. Play out the queen and gone about things that way. Anyway, I don't want to you know, harp on that for too long. Really good game. Excuse me. Great submission. Awesome submission there. Okay, let's move over to the topic of the day. Okay, got to black out the screen real quick. Got to put up the topic of the day here. Catching us up with the East. I think this is probably going to be a pretty spicy, pretty hot topic here. Okay, let me go ahead and adjust my face camera, and then we'll get this on there. Actually, let me get the black screen off, get the overlay, and there we go. Okay, you guys know I got to fidget with this camera just a little bit. We got to get it right where we want it, and then we'll be all right. Okay. So, guys, topic of the day. Catching us up with the East. So, for any of the new players out there, let me go ahead and like lay out the groundwork so you understand what's going on. So, in the East right now, they are an entire set ahead of us currently. That's at the time of recording this. Who knows in the future? Hopefully they change that. But currently, the East is about a month and a half, or no, excuse me, 4 months. Hang on, 3.5 to 4 months ahead of us in the West. Okay, in the East, they're 4.5 or 3.5 to 4 months ahead of us in the West, if I said that correctly. So in other words, we are in OP08, they are in OP09. They're about to be in OP10 in about 10 days. We will be in OP09 in about half a month or so. Probably about half a month or a month, something along those lines. So ultimately, they're about 4 months ahead of us. Sorry, that was a little bit clumsy. And if you have any questions, by all means, ask down in the comment section below. But we're going to read this topic, or excuse me, this comment here from someone because they were asking about it. So their name is the Marcus Brutus. Really, really cool name. So let me go ahead and read this because they laid out really well. So that hopefully that put things into context for the newer players out there. We're an entire set behind the East. So this guy said, I have a potential topic of the day for you. I know you've touched on this here and there before, but would love a full, coherent, and detailed analysis on it. Okay, my ears, my ears are all perked up for that, hearing stuff. I love going through things in detail. You guys know I love to just yap and yap and yap. They put, with the release of OP09 soon, I feel like we should briefly touch upon this. It would be that the West is always a full set behind the East for One Piece TCG. I honestly feel that it is such a detriment for us in the West in terms of deck building and creativity. 100% agree, by the way. 1,000,000% agree. Since Japan and the other countries are already competing in OP09, we kind of already know what the meta will be, barring any bans or restrictions, of course. It kind of ruins the fun of figuring out a new set when we already know what leaders will dominate the scene and what the matchup spread looks like for each leader. 100%. Again, I'm all on board with what they're saying, and I have talked about this before a little bit, and we're going to go into detail today. Then let me just finish this out. I don't really see much of a positive to keep the West being a set behind, but I was wondering your thoughts on it. Is there any benefits being a set behind? In my opinion, no. But I'll try to talk a little bit about that as well. And then it says, will One Piece TCG, or Bandai in this case, ever just make it where a set is globally released at the same time? So let me answer the first part, or the last part first. Bandai does own, they own One Piece TCG, but they also own Digimon. And they are starting to catch Digimon up with the West. They're catching they're catching up the West with the East. And that game was like 3 or 4 sets behind. Someone help me out in the comment section below. I think that game was like 3 or 4 sets behind the East. So there is potential, and they are catching it up now. So there is potential for them to do One Piece next. And I really, really hope that's the case. Because, chiming off that, going back to what you're saying here, I 100% agree that for, when it comes to like, one of the best parts about a TCG is when you get all of the new cards, when you get access to all the new cards. And it's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. We get to play with all these new cards. We get to try new decks out, try new leaders out, try new combos, revisit older decks that might have gotten new support. It's like one of the best feelings. However, in One Piece, and probably other games as well, like I don't know all the different games. In fact, someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, you know, please be respectful. Isn't Yu-Gi-Oh like that, where they're like a set or two behind, or are they on their own? I've heard all kinds of different things about Yu-Gi-Oh. Either they're on like their own set, like there's like the TCG and the OCG. Very confusing, guys. Y'all tell me down in the comment section below, but please be nice, please be respectful. So anyway, I think there are other games, not just One Piece and Digimon. I think there are other games that are not on the same, you know, release schedules. However, they are starting to catch Digimon up, and hopefully One Piece is the one they catch up next after Digimon. But when it comes to, you know, us over here in the West for One Piece, how do I say this? We're an entire set behind them, so we get to see, let me go ahead and show you guys real quick what that looks like. Okay, over on OnePieceTopDecks.com, guess what? Every day, I pretty much start my day by going to this site right here, OnePieceTopDecks.com, and I check what comes out in OP09. I'll still check what's coming out, or excuse me, what's coming out in the East. Because notice on the screen we were just at, here's the state of the game in Japan and Asia, and here's the state of the game in the English format, which is just the rest of the world. So, OP's, notice they have this exactly how it is, right? So right now it's in OP09 for the West, for the East, and it's in OP08 for the West. So in other words, they're an entire set ahead of us, right? Like what we've been saying. However, here's the issue. We already know what's going to be winning because of what happened in the East. Because we're about to leave off, or we're about to hop in where they left off. So a lot of players, and let's try to be fair, let's try to be fair, a lot of players like to just play what's winning. So to go back to that question real quick, let me go back to that question. I don't really see much of a positive to keeping the West a set behind. So that part right there, some people will argue, I'm not saying that I'm the one who argues this, but there are some people who just like to play whatever's winning. They don't really consider themselves deck builders. And I'm with you. I don't think there's really much of a positive, because here's the thing. If you're not a deck builder, look what would happen. Okay, let's just say, so all right, so here's the East, right? So let's go back to the West now. So, okay, just play what's winning right now, which is Doffy, Luffy, Lucci, and Luffy, right? So purple Luffy, black yellow Luffy, Lucci, and Doffy. Nami's still winning as well, and Bonnie's doing good. Okay, well, that's what's doing good already. So if you're a player who doesn't like to make your own decks, and you're like, well, I like to see what's coming from the East, and then I'll just copy paste that. Well, guess what? It just so happens that in this situation here, it's the exact same. like what we're running right now is almost identical to what they're running in the East. The only thing we don't have access to from the East right now is, of course, the new leaders, which they show up as well. You know, Blackbeard is showing up, and of course, where's Shanks? Shanks is as well. But the thing is, again, back to this, I think this question was done perfectly. Just to kind of play devil's advocate on this, like I don't really see much of a positive to keep the West being a set behind. I do agree with you, but just to push back what some people will try to say, and then I'm gonna fight that stance as well. Some people will say like, oh, well, I like to just know what's winning, and I just want to go play and compete at the highest levels in the TCG, which is fine, but there's no problem. You can still do that even if we were on the same set as other players, right? Because just play what's winning. And in this situation right now, guess what's winning? Purple Luffy, blue Doffy, black yellow Luffy, and Lucci. Lucci's right here. And then add in there the new cards that we didn't have quite yet in the West, you know, that are in OP09. It's like a fly in here. You know, Shanks and Blackbeard get added to the mix. But if you're a player who doesn't really, you know, that if there's players out there who are not interested in building your own decks, it's not a problem. Just play what was winning in the last set, and then slowly upgrade along the way. And then once a major, really good deck gets discovered, you can hop ship over to that one whenever you want to. Right? But I will say this, that even if that is considered a perk for some people, I think the negatives far outweigh that perk, right? Because here's my argument. I think the single most detrimental thing to this game's future growth and health are two things. And they both concerned me when I first got into the game. I got into the game all the way back in OP02, and they concerned me back then. They still concerned me a little bit. One, not so much more anymore as much as the other one. But the first thing was this. Being a set behind, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm a deck builder, so being a set behind is brutal. So especially, and now that I'm also a content creator, being an entire set behind, do you guys know how awful it is? Okay, real talk, guys, real talk. Do you know how awful it feels where I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to show you guys the spoilers for OP10. These are cards we won't have access to for like 5 or 6 months, depending on how early they're revealed, right? That feels horrible, right? Whereas if you were in the East, it's just a month or two away. Well, for us, it's like 5 or 6 months away. And so that was number. So let me get back to what I was saying. One of the biggest problems in this game, in my personal opinion, like such a huge detriment to the future health and growth of the game, is being a set behind. Because I can't tell you how many players I've heard say, you know, like, oh, I already see what's coming. I'm paraphrasing, but like they see what deck is already winning in the East, and we're like, and then once it's our turn to go into that meta, they don't want to play because they don't like the way it turned out. You know, and of course, you know, there are some exceptions, like this person said, with bans and restrictions. You know, OP0, I would say OP0 4.5 and then OP0 8.5, or I'll just say all of OP0 8. We did have a slightly different meta from the East because of bans that happened. So for those who are not aware, who don't go all the way back to OP0 3 and 2 and, you know, 2, 3, and 4 and so on, excuse me, there was a point where Whitebeard got banned. He was banned for like half a month or something like that, and the entire meta switched up because it was crazy. Everything changed. It was a good time. And even before that, in the West, Whitebeard was restricted. Like the 9-cost Whitebeard, the 4-cost Marco, and the 1-cost Radbeam, they were all restricted down to 1-ups. So that changed everything, and it was actually very interesting what happened there. And I think the deck was still doing pretty solid. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Y'all help me out. If I don't remember that correctly, maybe I'm off a little bit. I can't remember exactly, but the deck was still doing so well that they ended up having to completely ban it. But whatever the case is, then a similar thing happened in OP08 when Red Purple Law was just too strong. They ended up just banning it. Sakazuki was too strong for a while. They banned that. So yes, we do get some, like, how do I say this? Like, we do get some... like they tease us a little bit with like, oh, look, it's like your own fresh meta because something was banned in the East before it even hit the West. But that hurts in a different way, right? It's like, wait, so I didn't get to experience that? I wanted to be able to experience whatever it might have been, right? That's a whole nother negative side of being a set behind. And I can't really tell you guys how many negative sides there are to it. Now, the other thing, before I completely lose my train of thought, the second thing that was a huge concern for me, and this will probably be in another video in the future, is product availability. Because product availability and prices going up in your game, they typically go hand in hand. Not always, but they usually do, right? So it's like, okay, if the demand is so much higher than the supply, well, yeah, the cost just goes up, right? And that it is what it is. And that was one of my big concerns at first, is the game just sells out so quickly. It just became ridiculous. Where booster boxes were selling for like $140, $150, depending on where you lived, right? USD, of course. I don't know about the other, you know, euros or wherever you might have lived. But that was one of my big concerns, is the game becoming too expensive because it was growing so quickly, and they couldn't stock the shelves fast enough to keep up with the demand. They couldn't keep the supply up with the demand. But that's actually been pretty largely resolved. They still need to work on that a little bit. I'm not as concerned about that anymore as I used to be, especially seeing how they do reprints to help drive the prices down. I'm pretty happy with how that's going. However, one of my original and probably biggest concerns back in the day is still my biggest concern now, and that is being a set behind. I think that is dangerous going forward, because a lot of players from the West will see like, oh, okay, so this deck's winning, or more importantly, they'll see, oh, so the deck that I want to win is not doing well. Well, it saps all the hope out of them. And I understand you shouldn't think that way, but everyone gets to think however they want to, right? And so I'm right there with this person, the Marcus Brutus. Great question. Just to elaborate on it a little bit further, I absolutely cannot stand the fact that we are a set behind. I come from a background of Magic the Gathering. I come from a background of Hearthstone and even a little bit of Flesh and Blood. And it's just universal, or what would you call, like, worldwide releases. So everyone's on the same schedule. And they just added Japan. Flesh and Blood just added Japan to their market. And they're 5 years behind, right? Like, but they're going to catch them up. Like, at least that's from what I understand, they're catching them up slowly but surely. But when it comes to us over here in the West, and when it comes to One Piece, actually, hopefully they're going to catch us up. I am hoping that what they announce next year, I have no idea, guys. Do not quote me on this. This is just pure speculation. This is more than anything. This is just wishful thinking. I really hope they plan next year to catch us up with the East, catch us up in the West to the East. So that way we can be on the same schedule. That way we can experience the metas at the same time. Because, guys, does anyone remember how awkward Worlds was last year? I know some people might be newer to the game, but last year for Worlds, like, how does that work, right? If we're a whole set, a whole 4 months behind, a whole set behind the East, then when we meet for Worlds, what do? Well, the players in the East had to go backwards in time, 3 months basically. They had to not play with any of the new cards that were out, and they had to play what was legal for us in the West at the time. And I'm sorry, that is just not how it should be. It's not fair to them. Like, it's not fair to us either, by the way, because they had more time to play that set than we did, right? And on top of that, it's not fair for them because they have all these cool new cards they want to play. They don't want to play with you. I mean, I'm not saying they don't want to play with the old cards. The game is still fun regardless, but it just doesn't quite make sense. So the amount of like problems that I feel like it adds versus the perks, some perks people might argue would be like, oh, for the players who, again, I'm trying to say this in the most politically correct way as I possibly can. For players who don't like to build their own decks, they see it as like, oh, cool, I just know it's going to win, so I'm just going to build that. Okay, that's fine, but you can still just do that with whatever's current at the time. Because typically speaking, at the beginning of a new set, number one, people don't have all their cards yet anyway, and number two, they're just going to play a strong deck from the last set. It's just going to do well more than likely to begin with, right? Especially from what we're seeing right now, there's actually proof. A lot of people are running blue Doffy and purple Luffy. Well, going into OP09, they're doing very well even in that format. So it wouldn't really hurt them too much, right? And the other thing people might say is people who run markets, people who try to scalpers on the market, that's probably, actually, I was going to say that's a big perk if you're a scalper, but let's just be honest, that's like the biggest negative possible. We see all these cards coming out in the future. And what do people do? It's like, okay, that card's like 5 or 6 months away, right? Let me back that up a little bit. Let me try to explain it more like this. Like, okay, they will see a new leader get spoiled, right? Like let's just say when Purple Yellow Pudding got spoiled, or Red Blue Marco. So what did they do? The prices on certain cards just shot up. But I guess, I don't know. Let me say this. I don't know if that can really be helped at all, because anytime a spoiler happens, whether it's 2 months out or 6 months out, I don't think that will change too much, right? The scalpers are going to jump on it if they can. So I will at least kind of like retract that idea. Maybe that doesn't matter too much. You guys tell me what y'all think. But anyway, I just don't see any of the perks, guys. I just don't really see any of the perks of us being a whole set behind. What do you guys think? Y'all tell me down in the comment section below. I don't want to be on this for too long. I will start wrapping it up. I don't want to be on this for too long. I don't want to sound too repetitive. But I don't see any advantage. Like this person here is saying, the Marcus Brutus, they're saying like, hey, what is the positive to keeping the West a set behind? I can only think of negatives. We don't ever get to experience a new format. The closest thing we get to experiencing a new format is either A, playing on the sim. Big shout out to Batsu and his guys over on the sim. They're doing absolutely incredible work for this community. So big shout out to them. That's the closest we get to experiencing a new meta. And then number two is like, okay, the other, or B or two, whatever I'm saying, the other way is like, okay, we get to see the East playing the deck. That's not very enticing, right? Oh, cool, I get to watch these other players have fun with the cards I really want, because I don't get them for another 3 or 4 months. I feel like it's not sustainable, and I think for deck builders, it's one of the worst possible things. It's one of the worst things possible. Because, guys, I can't tell you how many times I was playing, like, Magic the Gathering back in the day, which is a global release. And this was way back in the day, like 2007, 2008. A new set came out, and you better believe I was in the lab, okay? I was in the lab, especially in that game, there's even a sideboard. And I used to do very well locally with that. I used to do very, very well in a local scene, or in the locals I was a part of. And it was awesome. Like, I'd come in with these decks they had no idea about. And sometimes they would come in with decks I'd never seen. And it was just a good time. And I feel like that's one of the worst things about this game. I hate to say it like that, guys, but it's one of my biggest concerns, that's for sure. And it would be so easy for them to catch us up. What are they waiting on? I have no idea. My hands are in the air. I have no idea. Because they could catch us up in less than a year if they wanted, or just do it over a year. Like, if they, so think of it like this. If they made it where we only had, hang on, let me do a little bit of math on this. It'd be better if I came up with like a little spreadsheet to show it. But if you think about it, okay, sets come out every 3 months, right? A set comes out every 3 months. So if they would speed us up to every 2 months a set comes out, then we would catch up in a matter of what? 6 months or so? Or is it 8 months? It'd be like 6 or 8 months. It wouldn't take that long is the point, right? Because, okay, 2, 4, 6, 8. That'd be 4 sets, whereas they'd be on 3, 6, 9 for 3 sets. I think that's what it would be. I think it'd be roughly 8 months. They'd be able to catch us up very, very easy, very seamlessly. Like, I think it'd be a very good thing for them to do. Hopefully they're considering that. We'll see what happens. And if they were to spread that out over the course of a year, then it'd be very easy to set up. Because while the East was still going at 3-month intervals, they could have us on like 2.5-month intervals or something like that. I think then it would probably work out over the course of a year. And then with us all on the same playing field, us all having the same releases and things like that, I just think this game would be even better than it is currently. And the game is already very, very solid. Because then we don't have to worry about, for example, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. There are some cards coming out in OP10 that I can't wait to play with for Red Yellow Sabo. But that's like 5.5 to 6 months away for us, right? Or 4.5 to 5 months away, I think, for us in the West. And it just feels absolutely terrible. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about on that. So not having our own meta, having to wait months for these spoilers to come out, and then getting to watch the entire the entire meta gets solved over in the East while we can't do anything about it. Those are like my 3 biggest downfalls of it. And you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Like, guys, these go out to everybody. And let me say something real quick, guys. Do not misunderstand. We're not trying to complain. This person came with a very solid question here, saying like, hey, what are your thoughts on catching us, Bandai catching us up with the East? And I want to know what you guys think about it. Is everybody on board with this idea? I know I am. I'm completely on board. I want us to be caught up immediately. If they told us that, hey, we're going to release set 9 and 10 at the same time, I would have no problem dropping double the money up front and then moving on from there. Okay? And I know not everybody can do that. I am fully aware. I try to empathize with everybody. Is that the right word, empathize? I try to put myself in their shoes. I try to understand from every perspective, every point of view. But at the same time, I'm always, whenever we do these topics of the day, I am always interested in the long-term health of the game and the long-term, health and like the growth of the game. So just understand that when we're saying this to guys, it's not about complaining. It's about bringing potential issues to the front and then us talking about them in a very, coherent way, even though I was a little bit all over the place. Hopefully that answered your question. Great question. Great topic of the day. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's my favorite and least favorite topic to talk about, right? Because I am so fired up about the game. I absolutely, I love this game. I love this game in One Piece. I think it's great. It's so much fun. But at the same time, it kills me. It tears at my sanity that we're not caught up with the East yet, or that there hasn't been talk of it. I'd be fine if they said, hey, we're planning on doing that by such and such a date, so then we have something to look forward to. Because when they catch us up with the East, guys, if they choose to do that, all of a sudden, it's a new meta every single time. All of a sudden, I just thought of one more thing people might say as like a perk, which it depends on who you talk to about it. Some people will say, well, it's nice for the East to get the cards first, so that way they have to deal with anything that's broken, and then it gets banned by the time it gets to us and we get a fixed format. That's not me, guys. I understand that logic, but no, for me, I want to see what's broken, and I want to see if I can beat it, because I always enjoy that challenge, and if something truly is broken, then it should be banned. But hopefully that made sense. But I was just thinking, that just popped in my head at the very end there. But ultimately, I don't think those pros outweigh the cons to us being a set behind. The major con being like, okay, like people are leaving the game. Not a lot of people. I don't know everybody who plays the game, but I've heard people say stuff like, yeah, I see what's happening in the East right now with the upcoming format, whatever it might be, and people are ready to check out. I know a lot of people have been complaining about Blackbeard, and for a while people were complaining about Sakazuki, because here's the thing: the new set comes out in the East, and then they see, oh, that deck's still winning. Okay, well, I'm not even gonna worry about that set. I'll just come back to the game later, which is not the worst thing. To be fair, it's fine if people take breaks from the game. We talked about burnout in a past topic of the day, but we'll have to see. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, guys. I have so much I want to talk about this. Like I said, it's one of my most favorite things to talk about because it's such a pressing issue, but it's also like one of my least favorite things to talk about, not knowing if they're actually going to fix it one day or not, if they're just going to leave us like this. Because when I first got into this game, the two big things that, just to kind of wrap this up, the two big problems I saw with this game was, number one was being a set behind, and number two was product availability. Excuse me. So we'll see what happens going forward. So hopefully that was able to answer this. The person said, let me see. They said coherent and detailed analysis. Hopefully that was good enough for it. It felt clumsy. I felt like I was a little bit all over the place, but hopefully I got my point across. And if you guys have any comments or questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to put those in the comment section below. Let's just please be respectful, guys. So just to finish out, just to wrap this up, I think they should absolutely catch us up with the East, and I think it would be really good for the game, so that way we don't have to worry about getting a hand-me-down meta, and that way we can experience new cards right up front with everybody else, and it would catch us up so that everything can be on the same page, and then everything would feel fair and everything would feel balanced. So, all right, hopefully that made sense. Let's keep going, guys. Now we have to head over to the sim. We do have 3 games we have to check out of Jewelry Bonney on the sim. Okay. Move all this around. All right. Oh, gosh. There we go. Okay, so I think I have 3 games against Luffy, guys. It's like black, yellow, red, purple, and purple Luffy or something like that. It just happened to be that way. It wasn't planned. Okay, so here we go. First game, guys. We have the game of Jewelry Bonney versus black, yellow Luffy. And here we go. I think this is a pretty standard list. I know I based it off of some list that had 1, and I just added Shanks to it. I think that's like the only changes I made. So Black Yellow Luffy's going to start off with a Flampe. They're going to draw a card from their life. And hang on, pause. Everything's happening so fast. So they had a pretty good start. They went first. I think I won the dice roll and chose to go second. So they chose Flampe first, drawing the top card of their life and a card from their deck with the on-play effect. Then they follow up with a Garp, and they swing for 7. I rest down the Flampe, and, you know, here we are. We're all caught up. I played out a baby 5 on turn 1, and I do not use the effect, so they can't attack into it, so I can actually get the effect from it later, potentially. Unless they remove it with some effect here. Swing for 5, we'll rest down that guy. We'll count out with a 1K. They use a Sabo. They pop my Uruge. Seems bad. Seems awful. We do have 6 Dawn here. I think what we're going to do, though, is we're going to play out the Cavendish. We're going to use the baby 5. We're going to search up a Doflamingo and pass with 2 Dawn active. If they try to swing in, we're going to rest down whatever they didn't swing with. They play out Hiyori. They're going to set their top life card. Okay, they still have 5 Dawn left. Let's see what they choose to do with it. Play out the Luffy, getting that Luffy out. Now they're going to be able to pop that to get rid of my baby 5 if they choose to. Which I think would be a pretty good idea. Swing for 9. We'll rest down the Sabo. We'll take that. We're down to 3 life. They didn't choose to get rid of my baby 5, so that's good. We are on an 8 Dawn turn here. Watch this. We're going to tap this guy, play this out. We'll swing for 6 into 6 here. And let's see what we do. We'll attach 1 Dawn there, and we're just going to pass the turn. I'm not going to swing for 5 at their life. Actually, I think they were at 7,000 power anyway, but I didn't want to give them their last life anyway. So we do have a blocker. We have an 8,000 power body on the board. We have a searcher. We're in a pretty good spot right now. Now, they can just use the Luffy on the board to pop my Rosinante and draw a card, but that's fine. If that's what they choose to do, then that's what they choose to do. Okay, they're going to swing for 10, so I'm like, okay, first use the leader effect. I'll rest down I think I should rest down the leader because they're probably going to try to buff that, but I rest down the character. Oh, well. So then I use the blocker, so that way they can't just use it to pop the blocker after the swing, right? Okay. Excuse me. So instead, they end up, hang on, everything just happened so fast right there. So right here. So I use the blocker here. So we use leader effect, use blocker. Then they're going to, well, they use a lightning bolt to pop my Cavendish. Then they use Ice Age on my Eustace Kid and pop the Luffy to get rid of that and draw a card. But they're down to 5 cards now. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about that exchange, guys. I know that might sound crazy, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay, 7 into 5. We'll take it, sure. And now it's time to just chain Dofies, I think. Guys, is that... Let me see if that's what I do. Swing for 5 into 5. Let's see if they want to give me that top life card. They give me a 1K counter. Beautiful. Lock them down. Guys, Doflamingo is so good. Doflamingo is such a good 10-cost character. Certain 10-cost characters, if you chain them together, they're just, like, outrageously good. Okay, Flampe trashes that. They don't get to draw a card from the effect because that's not how it works. They're going to trash the Hiyori, put those 2 up there. Sabo's coming in. Sure. Seems good. So right here, probably a slight play mistake. Well, I don't know. I was going to say, never mind. It wouldn't matter. I was going to say I could have swung for 5 with Bonney first, but at what? It wouldn't have mattered. I was hoping you'd tap down the Sabo and then just lock everything down. Okay, they weren't going to fall for that anyway. So we're going to play out the other Dofi. We lock down their guys here. They play out this Luffy. They play out the Sabo, and they're trying to just set what they need. But here's the thing. They're down to 0 cards in life, or excuse me, 0 cards in hand, and only 1 blocker. Well, the game's over, right? So this game is completely over. They have 1 card in hand. It doesn't matter because I can swing 11, 11, 12, or 11, 11, 13. Okay, GG. This is a simple math win. How do I know that? Because they have 9,000 power right on their leader, and they only have 1 card in hand. So the most they could get to is 11,000. So if I swing for 11, 11, 11, it's over, right? Because they had 1 life, 1 blocker, 1 card in hand. Okay, simple mathematic win there. Okay, next up we have a game of Purple Luffy. Guys, we got a game versus Purple Luffy. Let's go speed 2x. Volume's already off, and here we go. This was a wild game, guys. This was a wild game right here. So they go first. I'm going to go second. So they swing in for 5. I take it. They punished me with Trafalgar Law. I didn't know Purple Luffy was still running that. I'm not going to lie. I don't run anymore in my list, so I was surprised seeing they were. Okay, we swing for 5. They counter out. We play out Uruj. We have 1 Dawn active now. They're going to play out the... whatever his name is, the Bon Carré, no problem. We'll rest it down with our leader effect. They swing in for 6. I'm like, okay, buddy. This guy's getting a little bit, aggressive here. So 5 into 1. He's not going to save the Bon Carré. There's no way. If I had to, I'd swing in with Uruj. In fact, I think I do swing in with Uruj this turn. Okay, so we're going to lock this down. And then we're going to, actually, no, we're just going to pass. Okay. So it's my opponent's turn here. They're on a 9 Dawn turn. You know what that means. They always have Kaido every single time. So it's going to be swing 5. We'll go ahead and counter out of this. I use it. I don't block there because I'm going to try and make him use that to pop the Uruj. He popped the wrong character. So he thought I was going to block. Okay, let's just call it what it is. He was under the impression I was going to block that attack. That wasn't happening. Okay, so I think he should have popped the Uruj. Okay, we'll swing 5 into 5. He'll probably just give me a 1K or a 2K here. Gives me a 1K. Seems good. Trying to do a little bit of math here. We'll swing 5 more into 5. Now, he is down to 4 life, or 4 Dawn, guys. Understand that. We'll play out the Useless Kid. We'll play out the blocker. We'll set this as active. Now, he doesn't have to attack into me here. I'm going to tap that down. We're going to take this hit. We're down to 0 life, and we have a blocker. Okay, let's see what he does. Plays out the 4-cost Bon Carré Bentham. And, yeah, here we go, guys. Here we go. Most people would probably try to play this game a little differently, and I would not blame you. But we do have a slight play mistake here, and we're just going to go through the whole thing. Here we go. Going to play out we're going aggressive here. Okay, I'm going to spoil it. We are going Hody Jones. Tap down your Dawn, just in case he has a Rad Beam, or what's it called, Blast Breath. Excuse me. And here we go. Swing for 6. I do this a little bit out of order. Because, so hear me out, hang on. When he took all these, I'm like, you know what? I just messed up. I should have gone 7, 8, 8. But guess what? Sometimes it just doesn't matter. He didn't have the Rad Beam to begin with. That was a bluff, and he only had a 1K and a 1K in hand. He got no counters from hand. Sometimes that's all it takes, guys, is just to go aggressive at the right time. I'm not saying anyone could have known to do that. I'm not saying that was like, some people might have said that was completely lucky. But remember, guys, I am starting to see some of the counters he has in his trash. I'm starting to see like what he's playing out to the board. He's telegraphing a little bit by going that aggressive. So I was like, you know what? We're just going to go all in. We're going to go all in here and see if we can win this way. I had some other options as well. If I had chose to not go all in, let's see how else this turn could have played out. So these were my other options. I literally could swing 9. Well, see, the problem is those 4-cost dudes, the Bon Carrés. Those are really annoying. But I will. I guess I still could have done something. I could have gone, okay, the 10-cost is another option here. Okay, so if I had gone like 5 into face, 8 into face, and then use the Doflamingo to lock down his 3 on the board, then I could have just used my blockers to get out of those Bon Carrés. Right, but at the same time, if he just had one way to get around one of my blockers, it's game over because they'd be 10,000 power. I don't know. I think that was fine. I think it was one of those. Sometimes, guys, you have to play to win, and that I felt like that was my only chance of winning was to swing all out. It's just I did it slightly in the wrong order. I should have swung 6, 7, 8, 8. That was the one major mistake that I made, in my opinion, there. All right, next game. Okay, we got a game versus Red Purple Luffy. So black yellow into purple into red purple. All Luffys. Okay, Bonney's just attacking Luffy, just beating up Luffy today. So we're going to swing for 8 because I just don't have a play. Guys, I just don't have a play. We'll take that hit. They play out Zoro, do a top five search. Guess what? No more play. Swing 10 at life. Just drop him down to 1. Okay, your turn. This is a nightmare. Like, this is not my preferred way to play the game, guys. I just don't have a single card in my hand right now. And look at that. He attacks in. I also only have 2K counter in hand. Now I have a 2K, a 1K, and a 1K. Okay, so right here, we'll swing for 8 into 6. Let's see if he wants to save it. Gives me a Rad Beam. Sure. We'll go Uruj. We'll play out a blocker. And your turn. Edward Newgate, they do not choose to swing there because they did not want me to tap down their guys. So that way I could, I don't know. I actually don't know why. So we'll go ahead and attach a Dawn here. We'll pass the turn. Setting the Dawn as active in a turn with Uruj. And again, this is becoming pretty nasty for our opponent. We'll use the leader effect. I think I choose to rest down the Luffy here, the leader, so that way I can keep him locked down with 10 cost Doffys moving on from here. So here we go. They're swinging 12 into 8 here. Let's see what we choose to do. I give them the blocker, which was a little bit risky because if they had loaded up, I think what they should have done there was loaded up to take out my guy. I think that was the right call, even if I could follow up with a Doffy. Just get my 8-cost guy off the board because now I'm going to fight with him. Right now I'm going to fight him with this card. Okay, we'll swing 8 at face, and we're just going to chain Doffys. Chain Doffy, guys. That's my game plan with this deck. You chain Doffys or you don't, or you just rush them down. Like, I feel like that's the way to go. There's definitely a way more safer control way to play it, but with the pull that I got, that was the only option I had. Guys, that was a crazy pull. Okay, so lock down the 2 biggest guys that are rested here, and I have a 10K on the board. I have an 8K, a 10K, and I've got 2 more Doffys coming. I've got, guys, I've got Hodies coming. I've got Doffy. I've got all kinds of stuff coming. Okay. So this isn't going to change. I hope this guy understands. I'm going to swing 8. I'm going to swing 10. And then I'm going to play out another one. I'm just getting cards from my opponent's hand right now. Okay, swing 8, swing 10. He is at 8,000 power because of the 10 cost, or because of the 9 cost 10K Newgate. Lock him down. Your turn. My board's getting pretty large now, and I finally have drawn some counter power too. I've got 2, 4, 6 in hand. Then he hits me with that card. And luckily, it didn't hit any of my my counter power. That was all that mattered to me. Okay, so I have exactly enough to get out of this. I have exactly enough to get out of this. So I'm just going to give him all of it and say, all right, go ahead. So now they're going to swing in for 11 into 8, leaving no Dawn active. I'm feeling up against the wall. I'm feeling trapped. So you better believe it. We're going to go Hody Jones, swing for 6, and then swing 10, 10, 10. Probably not the best, line of play, but hey, if it gets there, it gets there, right? All right, 10 into 6 is pretty massive. They 0 cost 3K and 2K. Swing 10, they get a Rad Beam trigger. Doesn't matter. Swing 10 into 7, and all they had was 2K left. Good game. That was a lot of fun. Again, Jewelry Bonney, not my favorite leader. And I'll tell you right now, guys, the deck that I'm running, probably not the best deck out there. But this is what I was running. I kind of got the idea from a deck that had won. I don't remember the guy's name. Let me see if I can find it. I believe this deck right here was a deck that had won some type of, or got, I think it was like a top 4 Utrecht deck from a while back. I can't remember how far back. This was the list that I got my inspiration from and kind of modified a little bit, and I changed it into this. I called it Bonney Shanks because I just wanted to add the Shanks. So if I remove Bonney, this is basically what it looks like. I'm down to 3 Cavendish. I'm ready to go down to 3 Basil Hawkins as well after that last game. That was just brutal having that having all that non-counter power in hand. But yeah, guys, I go with the 4 Doflamingos. Doflamingo's the card that I just like when it comes to Bonney. That's what I want to just chain time and time again. I almost wish there was a green Doflamingo leader, like not green purple Doffy, but like some type of like mono green Doffy type leader where I could just combo stuff like this. But I will say, spoiler warning, in OP10, green purple Doffy looks like he might have gotten some pretty fun tools to play with. We will be revisiting that as soon as we can, or we'll be visiting that as soon as we can, like exploring that. Okay, well that's about it, guys. I'll run through the list real quick just for anybody who wants to hear it. I'll mouse over so you can pause it where you need to. 3 Cavendish, 2 of the 2K counter Apu, 2 Eustace Kid, 4 Viola, 4 Doflamingo, the 10 cost, 3 Baby 5, the 2K counter, 3 Rosinante, 4 Baby 5, the Searcher, 3 Hody Jones, 4 Uruj, 2 Jewelry Bonney, 4 Basil Hawkins, 3 Bartolomeo, 4 Jewelry Bonney, the Searcher, 3 Shanks, and 2 of the 0 cost 3K counter Doflamingo 0 cost 3K. All right, guys, that's it. That's about it. All right, how do we do on time? Not too bad. Not too bad. All right, let me go and shrink my head down and put up the playmat page here. Big shout out to everybody who supports the channel, guys. Thank you to everybody who, guys, if you're watching, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, whatever you're doing to help out the channel grow, I really, really appreciate it. Okay, thank you guys so much. To everybody on this screen right here, to the VV Pirates playmat supporters, thank you guys so much as well. I hope you guys are enjoying your playmat. Those things came out really cool. I do want to work on a new playmat very soon. I do have some ideas for that, but at the same time, you know, we'll have to wait on that. I've got some ideas, but that's for the future. I don't want to spoil too much on that either. Okay, then last but not least, thank you so much to the VV Pirates patron page, patrons as well. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel the ways you do. Just literally just donating to help keep the dream alive, to keep things afloat, guys. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Let's please be nice in the comment section, guys. I know that it's going to be a hot topic. I know people are like, it's a very polarizing topic. So let's keep it clean down there, guys. Let's be chill. All right, till next time, guys. Peace.